Welcome back to the Wrestling Hideout Podcast. It has been a while. Life happens, but we are back. And, well, 2024, it's been eventful already, and we are only on the 8th of February. So, I am, of course, Rhys. I am here with my host, Liam.
Hi guys, nice to be back.
Now, as you can probably see from the title, we are going to be talking about the whole We Want Cody. That is probably the biggest thing in wrestling at the moment, which seems a bit wrong, which we will touch on as well. But before that, let's just basically talk about everything that's happened this year in wrestling so far, because it's only been, 40 days? And the wrestling landscape is imploding, changing, just everything known to man. So, shall we get the big one out of the way? Vince McMahon has a bunch of allegations about him.
Rhys, one thing I can say for sure is it's not easy now to go back and watch the Attitude Era highlights that I like.
Yeah, so obviously we do have to say these are alleged because neither of us have the money for a lawsuit and nothing's technically been proven yet. But yeah, everything that's come out seems a little shocking and pretty damning, not only for Vince as a person but also the company. Um, it's hard not to touch on some stuff without going into details, but it's out there and there is a lot of it.
Yes, it's the thing is these alleged allegations against Vince aren't the first allegations we've had against Vince McMahon. I just think today's climate, people seem to take things like this a little bit more seriously. He
Yeah.
obviously had the allegations in the 80s with the referee, and I do believe there was quite a lot of coverage on it in the 90s because there was a wrestler that said he was abused in the locker room. I think they faced each
Yes.
other on TV once. So, shocking, disgusting, and damning, yes. But it was kind of out there that had always kind of been this person. And I think that's why his kids didn't really want anything to do with him towards the end.
Yeah, what's really tough at the moment is John Laurinaitis is someone that has been mentioned a lot in these allegations, and now he is also throwing Vince under the bus, which I don't think helps the case. Because now it seems like even if these were just allegations, there must be some truth to something somewhere, and I think that's the
You
real
wouldn't
problem here.
pay millions and millions of dollars eat out if nothing had happened.
Exactly.
I do believe there have been 12 or $15 million in total has been paid out in the last 5 years to cover allegations. Yes, if you're a billionaire, these sorts of things can happen where people accuse you of things and you pay off, but it's not just one or two, is it? It's a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like if Laurinaitis has been named in this stuff like he has, the fact that he is now defending himself and throwing Vince under the bus, I think that kind of backs up that it's not just allegations. There is a layer of truth to this, no matter how you look at it. Because if there was no truth to this at
On
all, I
a
don't, I don't think
personal
they'd be
note,
defending him.
on a personal note, I always thought there was something slightly dodgy about John Laurinaitis. I just always thought there was something shifty about him, and that's not dislike to his TV character. He just looks to me like that sort of guy, and I don't know if anyone knows what I mean, but there you go.
Yeah, you can kind of read between the lines. Honestly, you could probably do a whole 2, 3, 4, 5 hour podcast just talking about this. And I'm
I
sure
would
everyone,
say though, it's been done to death. It's been done to death by the bigger podcasts, and
yeah,
everybody knows about it, and would like to concentrate on wrestling,
yeah,
not what's killing wrestling.
yeah. And to be honest, if you're watching this podcast, you must know about it. So there's no real point in us digging on about this. Um, if we move over to TNA, breaking news last night: Scott D'Amore has been fired by Anthem. Now, I am a huge TNA fan, which is no secret. I don't
Same here. I
understand
was
this.
watching TNA back in 2005.
Yeah. I don't understand this. Um, the guy saved TNA in my opinion. Absolutely saved TNA. And I don't know why you would release that after all the work he put into rebuilding the brand. Because when
Well, he's
Demorth,
part of TNA's DNA.
yeah, um, and again, breaking news has come out this morning because at time of recording, this is about 10 a.m. the day after that news released, and it is being reported by Cultaholic that he was released because he had an argument with upper management about wanting to have an increase in budget for the company, especially with the momentum that TNA has gained. And you cannot deny TNA hasn't gained momentum. They just had their best month in pay-per-view sales in about 10 years or something. Like
I've
that's
got.
not.
Well, I mean, he was promoted to president last year, about this time last year, and from what I can see, it's because of him that TNA has had all the momentum.
Yep.
It was his idea to re it to TNA from Impact. He's been the one cutting all the vignettes. He seems to be he was performing a proper on-screen and back-screen role as president. From all the reports that I can see, the locker room loved him, and it doesn't seem to have gone down well. I mean, to give you an example, I mean, he's also been a wrestling trainer. He's trained people like Eric Young, Bobby Roode. He trained Gail Kim, D'Angelo Williams, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Moose, Rosemary. Some of these people are like Petey Williams as well. Some of these people are like proper TNA,
Yep.
like part of the DNA. I mean, if you can remember Team Canada, he's
Oh
been
yes.
in two stints. He's been with TNA for around 17, 18 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
He was also involved in Global Force Wrestling, but that was kind of like TNA-ish.
yeah. I mean, the less said about that, probably the
It was
better.
Jeff
To be
Jarrett.
honest. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't understand this news. He has been replaced by an Anthem upper management person who apparently has no previous wrestling experience or knowledge, so that's promising. Um,
Doesn't
and
have a wiki page either.
yeah, and honestly, I think this is a very good way to not only turn the wrestlers against the company, but also a very loyal fan base because TNA diehards are probably stronger, in my opinion, than WWE diehards. It's just they're a smaller majority, you know? Um,
Yeah, I
so,
mean, the thing that people forget about TNA is that at one point, the current viewership of AEW, TNA used to beat that week in and week out for years at one point.
hmm
The current viewership of WWE at one point, TNA used to match that. They're a company with a rich history, and the diehard fans have been following TNA wrestling since 2005.
yep.
So 19 years they've been around. 20 years they've been around now. So they're not. It's not like an AEW that's only been around for 5 minutes, flash in the pan. And it just feels to me like, just as you said, they're gaining momentum. Someone in upper management has slapped it back down again, but we've had this with this company before, haven't we?
Yeah, I think they're probably worried too much about the profits because the momentum TNA has gained isn't just going to stay by the name alone. Sure, the name is obviously massive, but the reason TNA has been so good for so long is because of how passionate and how you can tell when the wrestlers go out there they are really putting on a performance. It never seems like they're taking a day off, and obviously I think like the lowered schedule of wrestling and stuff helps. But I've never watched a TNA show and been disappointed. At its worst, it's always just been, oh, that was a pretty okay show. And compared to some AEW and WWE shows recently, I will take an okay wrestling show over some of that dog shit, to be honest.
Well, as you said, they're not flashy anymore, TNA, but their quality of matches has always been reasonable.
Yeah,
They had their point. They had their dark time. I would say 2020 to 2022, 2023 was their dark time.
yep,
They went to perform. They fell to performing in front of gym crowds. But again, they just like had a huge thing where they've spent probably hundreds of thousands, maybe even a low millions of dollars, revamping and promoting, and new belts, new sets, new
Yep.
contracts for the wrestlers. I mean, they shut down operations, didn't they, for a while? And that's not heard of in wrestling.
Yeah, they rescaled it back.
But this person they've just appointed, found some information about him actually on the TNA Wrestling website. He's worked for Anthem for 16 years, managing technical operations and multiple cable and digital channels for Anthem. Prior to working for Anthem, he actually worked for a company called The Score and was instrumental in bringing WWE to that channel.
Hmm.
He's a network executive, basically.
Yeah.
His profession is running cable channels. Not this. Companies have made this mistake before. Wrestling is such a unique atmosphere and unique sort of employment that unless you've been in the industry, you're not going to know how to deal with it. And that's why whatever you think of people like Jim Cornette, Dutch Mantel, Eric Bischoff, they know what they're talking about with this sort of thing. And I can't wait to hear what some of the people think about it, because the three people I've named have worked as executives in Impact TNA.
And the thing is, Scott D'Amore is not someone you hear people saying bad things about. Uh, it's not like they fired a Russo or a Cornette who could rub people the wrong way, or a I don't know, Ted Turner. They fired a man that a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about. So
Yeah. Um, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting to see how it goes from here with TNA. I really hope that they don't lose the momentum, because there is a lot of goodwill still in my heart towards the company, but now I am nervous about what the future's going to hold.
do you know what this reminds me of?
Go for it.
When WCW brought in Jim Herd.
I mean, you weren't alive back then for it to remind you of, but I know what you mean.
Like, you bring in a TV exec to run a wrestling company, and we all know how well
Oh,
that
Jim
went.
Herd. They talk about Jim Herd very, very nicely, don't they? These wrestlers.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard JR say anything bad against anyone apart from Jim Herd.
yeah. It's not like this is the WWE or AEW where there's turmoil. Impact or TNA as we know now, again, is always talked about at the moment as having a very harmonious backstage locker room. Everyone feels like a family. They all look after each other. They all help each other. Of all the places to do a huge shake-up like this and to piss employees and fans off, this is like the worst sort of situation you could do it in.
Well, what you said to me earlier about the agents um, telling the wrestlers if they're not happy they can quit. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
that's odd.
So
That's
let
not right.
let me just find that again, because obviously this is new news. This happened about an hour ago, and this was on the Cultaholic website. So yeah, they are stating that Tommy Dreamer and Gail Kim were holding a meeting with the talent to tell them that Damore had been terminated, and that if any employees were unhappy with the company, they were welcome to talk to them about having their contracts terminated. Now, that's very much a
That's strong.
yeah,
That's very strong.
that's a we don't care about what you think. They also further gone to state that it'll be on a case by case basis, and some people are too invaluable to the company to be let go. So if you're telling people that if they don't want to be there, they can quit, but then also telling people, well, we don't care if you want to quit, you have a job to do here, you're just pissing them off even more.
Yeah, yeah. It's odd, and it's ongoing news. So you don't know. We still don't really know the entire full story. Something might come out in a couple of days, um, saying that other things had happened in the background. What I genuinely thought, at first when I saw Scott D'Amore fired, I thought, oh no, he's not been implicated in something Vince McMahon style, and Impact and Anthem are going, right, get out now.
Yeah.
That crossed my mind, I have to be honest.
Yeah. That that does remind me that this does add another layer because apparently Scott D'Amore was one of the key players in getting this relationship between WWE and TNA up and running. And
Oh.
now for him to be ousted, I wonder what WWE now think about this because let's be
I
fair, they're
wonder whether
ruthless.
Scott D'Amore approached by WWE now.
Uh, I mean, if they don't take it, AEW would be stupid not to. And to be honest, with Jeff Jarrett on the
Sorry,
payroll,
I don't mean to interrupt my lovely co-host, but I think wasn't there a problem with AEW and Scott D'Amore, and that's part of the reason why the relationship failed.
it was more that AEW was like taking shots at Impact and basically calling them like minor leagues and like crapping on the company while being in a working relationship with them. Um, which, yeah, I don't know how you quite make that work, but if Scott D'Amore's been fired by Anthem because he's too passionate and he's good friends with Jeff Jarrett, AEW would be silly not to bring him on board. Absolutely silly. He's the perfect person to bring in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we shall see.
I wonder what Jeff Jarrett thinks of his baby nowadays, because it was his company, him and his dad.
Yeah,
I wonder what he thinks. When it comes to It's interesting, isn't it, when it comes to TNA? All of the big podcasters you've got: Cornette, Jarrett, Russo, um, Bischoff, Nash. They all worked at TNA.
yep.
All of them at one point or the other, all together. Mantel as well. The company's had probably gone through most of the big talent, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's
But we'll see, listeners. We'll follow this one. We'll give updates on our much more frequent episodes going forward. Um,
we're gonna be more regular your favorite women in your life, I promise. So we will be here.
right, that's hilarious coming from you to me right now.
That's a little in joke that our audience won't get, but we'll leave that in.
um,
Well, how much
well,
do you keep up with Joshi wrestling, the Japanese female wrestling?
not much, but
Okay,
I've been advised on Japanese wrestling. If Brock Lesnar ever wants to wrestle again, it will have to be in Japan because they don't care.
well, so we are now in a situation where Stardom, the biggest female wrestling company in the world, they are the ones that had like people like Oscar, Kairi Sane, Yulia, like all the top female Japanese wrestlers have come from Stardom. They've been in there. A lot of the top American and British wrestlings females have been in Stardom. People like Becky Lynch, people like Sasha Banks, people like Serena Deeb and Deonna Purrazzo. They've all been in Stardom. They're, the company itself is now owned by Bushiroad, who also owns New Japan, and there was a man called Rossi. I think his name's Rossi Ogawa. He was the original owner of Stardom, and after Bushiroad bought it, they kept him on to be like the leader of Stardom still. A nice little gesture. Well, in a nice little turmoil to the wrestling landscape, he has also been fired by Bushiroad because apparently he has been poaching um, Stardom wrestlers for other companies. I don't understand how this works. If he was under contract with them, how he was helping them poach wrestlers. I'm assuming it probably has something to do with AEW and WWE and him like getting the wrestlers better contracts with those companies, if that makes sense. Um, Meltzer has said that Kairi Sane leaving Stardom for WWE played a part in this, so I'm assuming he probably took on a bit of a role of like a Sonny Ono, where he acts as like a manager for contracts between these places. Um, So yeah, he has now
Yeah.
announced that he is starting a new wrestling promotion in Japan now that he's been fired. And this is how passionate the wrestlers are about him. A lot of the top stars are super upset about this. A lot of them have their contracts running out, and one of the biggest female Japanese wrestling superstars, Julia, who has been rumored to be WWE bound for months at this point, has reportedly notified WWE she is delaying her start with that company to help Rossi Agawa start up his new promotion before she goes to America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
It's yeah, it's an interesting time. We're only in the first week, second week of February, and the wrestling world seems to be pivoting all over the place. You have execs being implicated in stuff. You have execs being sacked for no reason that we can know. You have execs starting new companies and wrestlers buggering off to them. I wonder what it's going to be like at the end of the year.
who honestly knows? Yeah, who knows?
It's
Things are
yeah.
crazy at the moment.
Um, other news, which is a week old or so now. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is now an official, not kayfabe, an official director of TKO Holdings. He's on the TKO board as I think it just says director,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, the Rock's in charge. Yay!
And this after we have rambled for 20 minutes about. I mean, I say we rambled. The landscape of wrestling has changed so much in a month. I think the fact we got it into 25 minutes is pretty impressive. But this does lead us into the theme of today's show, which is rumors are, and it really
We
strong.
want Cody.
Yeah, rumors are, and it looks like this is happening. The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania for the title. Just saying that sentence hurts my soul because, on paper, sure, this is a once in a lifetime match. So was Cena Rock.
I have a question. I
Yep,
have a question for you, Rhys,
yep,
and this is related to this. 2024,
yep.
do you think wrestlers, the big wrestlers, have completely scripted promos, or do you think Paul allows them, like in the Attitude Era, gives them bullet points and allows them to say things that they think's good? It relates to this.
I think probably a mixture of both. I think if they've proven that they can go out there and they can cut a promo, I think he probably will allow them to do so. I think if it's someone
So you
like
don't think it's like mid 20 teens where Vince had scripted everything to the last
no,
sentence?
I'm sure it's probably like that for some people. Like I'm sure if you sent, I don't know, Omos out there, I'm sure he'd have a script. But if you sent a Seth Rollins out there, I'm sure they're probably like, look, just say this, and this. Go fill 10 minutes. And I'm sure
CM
that
Punk's promo to Cody, where he
that
says a big star comes along and steals you my WrestleMania moment.
yeah.
Interesting, interesting wording
Yeah, and at the time
because it
obviously we were
happened.
yeah, I mean at the time we were all looking at like, oh, Punk's gonna do to Cody what Rock did to him. And now fast forward what, 3 weeks and
The
The Rock
Rock's doing to Cody what The Rock did to him.
yeah. And like on paper I get it, 'cause The Rock versus Roman Reigns sounds like a once in a lifetime match. It sounds like a huge marquee
Paper,
match.
it's good.
Yeah. But in the year 2024, do we really think that Roman Reigns and 50-year-old Rock can go out there and put on a main event caliber match, let alone a main event caliber match of a WrestleMania? Because The
I
Rock,
don't think The Rock's been. I, even when The Rock wrestled Punk 14 years ago, he was carried. He was gassed.
yeah,
Punk carried him.
I always look
And
at
that's a 40-year-old Rock.
The Rock versus Cena matches because, in my opinion, Punk's a little bit of a different wrestler to like Roman. Roman and Cena, in my opinion, are a bit closer related, and the Cena Rock matches weren't good. Like the first one had that
No.
like aura of being, oh, this is gonna be a classic, and it was okay. And then they did it the next year, and it was it was dog shit. We'll just say how it is. It was terrible. Like, so
Yeah,
I don't know how they expect The Rock and Roman to go out there and put on a banger. And if this match
they're not
does
going to be
happen,
able to. He's not going to. Sorry to interrupt. He's not going to be able to do a 25, 30-minute WrestleMania match and make it look good.
no,
Even in his heyday, he struggled on the 25, 30-minute matches.
yeah. Now I'm gonna relate this to another match, which it's not quite the same because Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. That match, which main event in WrestleMania, was appalling. One of probably the worst matches I've
Yep.
ever seen. And obviously, The Rock isn't as broken as The Undertaker was in that match. He's still 51 years old. He's still jacked. Like, he's going to get gassed after 2 minutes. I, I just don't understand. And my worry is, if this match happens, where do you go from here?
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, Conrad Thompson shot down in his view that they're trying to get Roman to beat Hulk's record because nobody cares if Roman Reigns is the third longest reigning champion. They would care if he was already going for the number one record.
Yeah.
To beat the number one record, I think he needs to be champion for another 4 years or 3 years straight, which just isn't feasible.
Yeah,
It's I as we discussed personally before this, I think partially this has got something to do with The Rock's ego,
yeah,
thinking that he will he will save WrestleMania. And it's not the same, in my opinion, as the Daniel Bryan movement back in the 2013s.
no, not all. Not
I
at
think
all.
it's 2013. To give you an example, Daniel Bryan wasn't the number one merch seller. Daniel Bryan wasn't the number one merch seller. Daniel Bryan wasn't winning every week. Daniel Bryan hadn't had a 2 year story. Cody Rhodes has been the top merch seller for God knows how long. The fans have wanted Cody to win the title for 2 years straight now. And it's heartbreaking in my opinion. And the fact that WWE are going as so far as to edit out Cody's sad face and to tone down the booing makes me wonder whether Vince really is still in the production truck with Kevin Dunn.
Yeah, so the thing with Daniel Bryan and even Kofi Kingston is that these were two people that weren't being groomed to lead the company. These were two people that the fans were behind. In this case, not only are the fans behind Cody, the company have been grooming him to be the face of the company. And like the fans are
It,
ready to accept the
they were
fans.
building him to be the next Triple H.
Yeah, like the fans were ready for Cody to have the title last year, and it didn't happen. And now we're at that point where it's like, okay, give him the title. Like we all want it. It's time. And now they're like, well, you can wait.
Well, I wonder whether he's going to suffer the same fate his dad did.
I
Never get
mean,
the big one.
I don't understand how you would do like my worry with this is in fact I've got loads of worries, but the two big things that stick out in my mind is what night of WrestleMania does The Rock versus Roman main event? Because they main event night
Oh,
one.
it's going to be night two.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's going to be night. I know I'm interrupted. It's going to be night two because The Rock is going to want it to be night two.
yeah. Um, my thought behind this is if they do night one, then you're gonna upset everyone for night two, and the entire thing can be tainted, right?
Yeah,
If you have it on the end of night two, everyone's last memory of WrestleMania is going to be The Rock versus Roman. And this
so
isn't.
I'm going to read you a tweet now
Okay.
about this. Right. It's from SE Scoops, if you know who they are.
Yep.
Right. I keep asking about the Rock WrestleMania plans possibly changing because that's all fans want at this point. Last night, attended member of the creative team told me straight up, we have not been told of any change. This doesn't mean the plan hasn't changed or won't change, or this all is a plan anyway. It means we're not being told. Now, get this, at the end, it's all up to The Rock. who really doesn't care if he's booed or cheered at WrestleMania. It's business.
Yep.
And a match that has this much attention is money. Like it or not, WWE didn't see those Rocky sucks chants coming on Raw. That's for sure. Thursday will be interesting in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so we should just point out we are filming this Thursday morning, so the Vegas press conference hasn't happened. Now, I can totally understand The Rock not caring because it's business, whatever. But
Damage it though.
yeah, if the fans at this press conference just shit on him for hours, I don't think his ego will take it. Like, his Hollywood ego's been bruised because of the Black Adam and the rest of his shows bombing. XFL bombed. They had to sign up with, I think they've had to like co-join with a network or something just to keep the company afloat. Wrestling at the moment is kind of the only thing he has back to fall on, and like The Rock's never been booed. The only time The Rock's come back and been booed is when he helped Roman Reigns win the Rumble. If The Rock comes back to
The
wrestling,
Rock's never been booed. Can I interrupt you? The Rock's never been booed.
you know what I mean. Like when he's come back, obviously the first few
I
years
was
of The
going to
Rock were,
say, die Rocky die.
but like no, you know what I mean. Like, but when he's come back, like it's like Austin when they come back, no matter what they do, they don't get booed. I
Yeah.
think if he comes back and this press conference is as bad as that Raw chant was, I think his ego is going to take even more of a battering because that'd be a sign that the fans don't want him. Like, if it was a case of like it was Cody versus Roman, The Rock was the special guest enforcer, that's so much different. Like, the fans would welcome him back with open arms. Be like, yeah, why not? Get The Rock in. But,
That's what I thought they were going to do. I always thought he was going to be a special enforcer to stop the family.
yeah, and then that could lead to a lovely Roman versus Rock match in Saudi, because the Saudi shows don't matter, they're always bad, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, and I mean, I am hearing rumors that they may do Rock Roman at Elimination Chamber. But I think some of these rumors are just hopeful rumors being started by fans.
Yeah, I mean, Elimination Chamber is a whole other issue, because what is the main event of that match, or that show, sorry, because there's no Seth's title. I really don't see Roman wrestling in Australia. I just don't see it happening.
I
Um,
think they're putting Rhea Ripley as the main event.
which is fine, but who is
She's
she?
Australian, isn't she?
She's Australian, but then who's she gonna wrestle? Because
I think it's
she's.
going to be Nia Jax.
And do we really think Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax will go out there and have a high quality main event match?
I think Rhea Ripley would have a high quality main event match,
Oh,
but not
for
Nia
sure.
Jax.
Yeah,
Although
exactly.
Nia Jax is also from Australia. I didn't know that.
Isn't she from like the New
No,
Zealand
she's
area?
born in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, the more you know, then yeah, that's definitely why they're doing the main event there. Yeah, I'm just a little worried. The WWE have
Born in
suffered for
Sydney
it.
and raised in Hawaii.
Oh, the more you know.
What's going on at the moment? You've got The Rock's daughter being all of a sudden being general manager of NXT. You've got The Rock's cousin now getting main event. Oh, it's such nepotism, mate.
Yeah.
I used to be the biggest fan of The Rock in the world. His backlash against Triple H when 2000, I believe,
Yep.
my favourite ever match. You know the one where a whole DX are involved and Austin comes down right at the end and does the save. My favourite. Now, oh my god, I can't watch anything from the Attitude Era. Vince McMahon and The Rock, great.
Yeah. I'm just because.
What have I got left? The Reign of Terror.
Oh God, don't even get me started. But if this match happens, Rock versus Roman, what happens after? Because there's only two results, right? Either The Rock walks out with the title, or Roman Reigns walks out with the title.
I'm hearing that they wanted to. I'm hearing somewhere that they want to have a Cody Rock main event at SummerSlam.
Something about unifying titles or something.
Yeah,
Which then, so let's circle back to this. If they now want to unify titles, Why did we make a title out of thin air for Seth Rollins to hold for what, a year and a half? That has been meaningless.
He's coming up to 300 days now. And I was under the impression that that title wouldn't be held by one person for this long as well.
Yeah,
Um, why don't WWE just do a reset a la 1999 WCW? Wouldn't that make sense?
God, just strip every title from everyone.
Oh, they would. The egos in the back locker room wouldn't handle it.
No.
Which makes sense though, because they've put themselves into a corner here. You've got, in my opinion, you had Vince McMahon interfering, then all of a sudden he's gone. Paul Levesque gets given control, and all of a sudden The Rock comes. It's like, why can't they just let the guy who's actually booking the matches book the matches?
Yep. Yep.
I honestly, I feel sorry for Paul because he's passionate about the business. He's got a brain, and he can't seem to be left alone at the moment. Because from what I'm hearing, he didn't even know about this until the last minute because it was above his head. It was above Nick Khan's head. The Rock did what The Rock does and goes to the owner of the bloody company, basically.
Yeah, honestly, I just.
WrestleMania. So I was just going to say, if they do Rock Roman at WrestleMania, they're doing it in bloody Philly of all places, mate. That crowd will. It's almost like Chicago. They will boo that, and they will not be able to drown that out.
No, it's going to be
If
brutal.
The Rock walks out as world champion at the end of that, that is the biggest piece of nepotism in the history of the wrestling industry.
Yep.
It's worse than Vince winning the title because at least that was a compelling storyline with Austin.
Yeah. It's. So, we're coming up to WrestleMania 40, right?
Yep.
I am just going to read you the WrestleMania 30 main events. So, the last 10 years,
Yep.
because. In fact, no, 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 no. We're going to go back even further. We're going to go to WrestleMania 28, so 12 years. Because I really want to point out the biggest issue that WWE has right now, where their main
Yep.
event scene is either full of part timers or old people, and there's no new emerging stars. Okay,
Go
so
for it.
WrestleMania 28, John Cena versus The Rock.
Yep.
WrestleMania 29, The Rock versus John Cena. WrestleMania
Yep.
30, Randy Orton versus Batista, who was part time, versus Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
WrestleMania 31, Brock Lesnar, who was part time, versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. WrestleMania
Yep.
32, Triple H, who was part time, versus Roman Reigns. WrestleMania 33, The Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. Undertaker, obviously, old as shit at this point.
Yep.
WrestleMania 34, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
I've got a
Wrestle-
Roman's Reigns issue here.
yep. WrestleMania 35, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte versus Becky. Obviously, Ronda, part time.
Yep.
WrestleMania 36, we had The Undertaker versus AJ. Okay, whatever, that was that Boneyard match. We can deal with that.
That
Brock
was a good
Lesnar,
match.
yeah, Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. Part time again.
Yep.
WrestleMania 37, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Absolutely fine. I'm okay with that. However, night 2, Roman Reigns, part time, versus Edge. 20 years in the
Yep.
business at this point, versus Daniel Bryan. WrestleMania 38, Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't need to say that to you. The next
Yep.
night on WrestleMania 38, Brock Lesnar, part time, versus Roman Reigns, part time. WrestleMania 39, the Usos versus Owens and Zayn. Great match. Absolutely perfect main event.
Yep. Really
The other
good.
the other night, Roman Reigns, part time, versus Cody Rhodes. This year, The Rock versus Roman, part time versus. How do you even explain The Rock? 50-year-old executive who can't let go of the past?
What it says there is that Roman Reigns has been shoved down our throat. I reckon in 20 years' time, they won't be talking about Hogan. They'll be talking about Reigns.
Yeah,
Um,
not only has Reigns been shoved down our throat, that's 12 years of the WrestleMania main event having either a part timer or someone who's been in the wrestling business for
25, 30 years, yeah.
like
Then you go back previously, the 10 WrestleManias before that, and I bet you it's not that like that.
Miz versus Cena. Great. Undertaker
Yeah.
versus Shawn. You know what? That does fit our narrative
Back
of,
then,
yeah, but this was Shawn's retirement match.
yeah,
Before
but
that,
I will not hear a bad word about the So Taker, 4 years in a row, he had Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and all four of those matches were fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care if they were part time, but this is the thing. I've been looking at all of these, and how many of those WrestleMania main events, in your opinion, were actually what we would call WrestleMania main event caliber? Really?
yeah.
Not the WrestleMania main events from our childhoods, were they?
No, I mean, for me, my childhood would be like 2000 to like 2004. Those are the manias that really
Yeah,
stand
so
out.
you had Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels style matches.
Yeah, I mean, WrestleMania.
Batista versus The Undertaker when they weren't part time.
Yeah, I mean, WrestleMania 2000, Triple H versus The Rock versus Big Show versus Mick Foley.
What a fucking main event.
Yeah, then you got The Rock
Yeah.
versus Stone
Even though
Cold.
the match isn't even though the match isn't great to today's standard, the hype, the
Yeah,
build up, amazing.
yep.
My internet just shut down, Reese, during mid rant, and I was getting into it then.
Sick.
Fucks. Right, where was I? Right.
We just mentioned WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah. So as I said, wasn't that back when Triple H was the mega authority heel? Big Show wasn't slow and fat. Mick Foley was only half broken. You know, back in those days.
Yeah, this was a McMahon in every corner.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Let me think. Linda with Mankind.
Yep.
Um, Stephanie with Triple H.
Hmm.
Shane with Big Show. Vince with The Rock.
Yep.
Or the other one. Sorry.
And you see how
That's
memorable that
right.
is. Like the fact you remember that
Yeah.
from memory, and that
The
was
fact that that's 24 years ago.
yeah. And like WrestleMania after that, The Rock versus Austin, and probably one of the best WrestleMania main events ever.
Is that the one where Vince hits The Rock with the chair at the end?
Yep.
Yeah, the end of the Attitude Era, they call that, don't they?
Yep. And then you had Triple H versus Chris Jericho.
Not the greatest, but still a good match. That WrestleMania is more remembered for Hogan Rock, isn't it?
Yep, that's the one. And then the year after you had Angle
Although,
versus Brock Lesnar.
if you watch that match without the fan reaction, watch it on mute. It's not as good as you remember.
No, I mean I never really enjoyed that match at the time anyway. Um, because it was a weird mania. Because you had The Rock versus Hogan, and then you had Austin versus Kevin Nash, and I don't know, like the NWO was a super mega power.
The idea was, I think the idea initially pitched, wasn't it Hogan Austin?
I think so. And Pritchard tells a story about how they all thought that Hogan and Austin wouldn't be able to have a good match because of their like brawling styles.
See, there may be a point in that.
But then The Rock versus Hogan wasn't exactly a barn burner.
No, I think Meltzer, back before his brain melted, only gave that 2.5 stars, didn't he?
Something like that. And you know what? I think this kind of backs up this whole Rock versus Roman thing. Sure, the Mania will be remembered for that match, but it doesn't mean it's a good thing. Like, we remember Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker because the matches are phenomenal. We don't remember the match just because it was Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker.
No, no, no. They're four very different wrestlers. I would say Hogan Rock. I could see an ego problem there,
Yeah.
and they're not. Undertaker and Mark Calloway. Sorry, Mark Calloway, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. They're more wrestling for the love of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is why this Mania
I
has me
think that.
worried.
Hang on, just on the subject. I do believe that Michaels and The Undertaker never had a bad match. They'd been wrestling barnstormers in the early 90s, weren't they?
Yeah,
Didn't they
and
have
the
the
late
first
90s.
ever cage match?
They had the first ever Hell in a Cell match.
There.
And then they had a casket match because that's the one where Shawn like injured his back and had to retire. Um,
Yeah.
even if you go back to
We
just
should
before,
do an episode on Shawn Michaels. We should do an episode on Shawn Michaels, Reese. the more time goes on and the more I watch older wrestling, Shawn Michaels is becoming my favorite wrestler.
Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler. No one has even come close to swaying me, so I could happily talk about Shawn Michaels for
Do
hours.
you prefer Michaels? Do you prefer Michaels wrestling before God or after God?
Um, Probably after, honestly. Like, I still like his matches before that, but there's just something about Shawn Michaels
I think
after coming back that
uh,
hits different, you know?
the fact he came back for career-ending back injury and had that match with Triple H. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're going off subject. Back to WrestleMania.
yeah. Um, so yeah, what worries me is where do you go from this? Because either The Rock leaves with the title or Roman leaves with the title. Because I do not see it being a triple threat with Cody. I just
You have a part walk off with one. You have a part-timer walk off with the title who's not going to defend it again to SummerSlam, or oh, hang on, a part-timer walk off with the title who's not going to defend it until SummerSlam.
right.
Either, either way, how long is it until WrestleMania now?
It is on
2 months.
April 6th and 7th. So yeah, about 2 months.
They've only got two matches. That match is number one, TBD versus Cody Rhodes for the World Championship. Interesting. I wonder who actually gets to WrestleMania to fight Cody.
The fact this is the problem with this whole thing. The fact that we're asking who gets to fight Cody when Cody is the one that won the Rumble. How?
Some people are saying that Cody shouldn't have won the Rumble. If they knew, if Emmanuel at the top of the company knew that they were going to bring the Rock in for the world, they should have just had the Rock to be a surprise entrance and win the Rumble. That at least would have made some sense. If the Rock had have come in as number 30 and thrown Cody out, that would have actually made a kind of a compelling storyline. But to
Yeah,
let the guy win the Rumble, point to Roman Reigns and go, "I'm coming for you," and then 2 weeks later, without any words, walk away, obviously holding back tears. Yeah, and I feel sorry for Seth Rollins as well because he did the best he could there, but it's a shitty situation.
yep.
It's horrible, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was Cody Rhodes. I'd be asking my brother if there's any jobs going.
So the thing that gets me about this is I agree with you. If they were going to do this, The Rock should have won the Rumble because The Rock would have been booed out of the building for winning the Rumble, but at least it would have made sense. The Rock is getting booed out of the building and he's not even there. And the story makes no sense because if Cody wants Roman and wants to finish his story, what's the debate? Like the whole point of the
Yeah.
Rumble for the last 40 odd years has been whoever wins it gets to go to Mania for the title. And now that there's two belts, it's been that it gets to pick what champion they want.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I think there's been one occasion, off the top of my head. So there's been two rumbles where the world championship's been decided in the rumble. Ric Flair and Triple H.
yep,
Okay. I think there's been one time where the person decided to have a match at the pay-per-view before the Rumble to set up an Austin main event at the Rumble at the WrestleMania. But
yep,
you're right, out of 40 Rumbles, I believe 37, 36 of them have been to the main event at WrestleMania. There's been, yeah, and you had the attitude, the ruthless aggression era where they could choose between the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship, and yeah, it's basically made the Rumble pointless. This year's Rumble's just pointless
yep.
because he didn't have a choice, did he?
Like, and the other thing that now occurs to me is, let's say Punk didn't get injured.
Yeah,
If The Rock was still going to force his way into this title match, then what? Because frankly,
I
Cody
think they'd have
versus
had Punk. I think they'd have. I think if I could interrupt, I think this is how it had gone. I think Punk would have beaten Seth at Elimination Chamber, and then Punk versus Cody would have been WrestleMania. I truly believe that what would
yeah,
have happened.
I could see that, and I don't know. to me, that's so less appealing than Punk versus Rollins and Cody versus Roman. Like, I just,
Yeah.
I
At
really,
least with one thing you can say, one small shining silver grace is that Cody and Seth will have a far more compelling and better match than Rock Roman.
yeah,
Cody and Seth can put on a match. The problem is that we've seen Cody Seth so many times. It's like their go-to default, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. We've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
Um,
I just want someone new. I want Cody to be the world champion, the proper world champion, because it's just been the same guys for years now.
yep.
You've had Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, um,
Seth Rollins.
you've had Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and you've had a couple in between. You had Kofi, look how that turned out.
Yep.
You had Big E, look how that turned out. You did have Bobby Lashley around for a while, and then you had Drew McIntyre, who I love and who's still popping in the storylines. I actually like Drew McIntyre, but he unfortunately was world champion during COVID. But I would say, I went back and calculated it. The last 8 years, it's been Roman Brock, Roman Brock, Roman Seth, Roman Brock, Roman Brock, Roman Brock, Seth. If you follow me.
Yep. Yep. I
Don't get me wrong, I like Seth Rollins. I like him. Well, when I say that, I like authority style Seth Rollins back from when it was the authority.
yep.
I liked Seth a lot more than this guy now. Something about his laugh makes me want to punch him in the face. But
Yeah,
I
I
want
get
someone
that.
new. Cody is a chance to breathe fresh life. Put Cody as the main face of WWE. He's got the look, he's got the heritage, he's got the skills. Fresh face. Give him the title, let him hold it for 6 months, and then let him drop it. Not 3 years, 6 months. What do you
You know,
think? Do you think
honest,
I'm right?
you know what? Honestly, in my head, don't even give it to him for 6 months. You don't need to. Give it to him for I don't know, a month, and have Gunther squash him at the next main event. Have him beat Roman, and then have Damian Priest cash in, and then at least you've got a brand new, fresh main event scene. Like you just
Subject to Damien Priest. I don't think Damien Priest is going to successfully cash in. I've got this feeling that he's going to put the briefcase up against somebody and he's never going to cash in. He's going to put it up as a, um, like a briefcase thing. You know what I mean, don't you?
yep.
Briefcase ladder match. I don't think he's going to cash it in. Don't think they're going to pull the trigger on him.
Well, the whole thing is you only get a year to cash in, right? So
That's
he's
coming up, isn't it? It's not.
July.
Um,
So
it's going to have
after
to be sooner or later.
yeah, so after Mania, that only leaves 3 months for him to in kayfabe cash in. Um, but like Cody finishing the
Had
story,
quite a few unsuccessful catches in there, haven't you?
yeah.
You had Cena not managed to do it. You had it where they gave it to Otis. You had it when they gave it to Damien Sandow, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
So it's not unheard of. Yeah, Damien Sandow, yeah. So it's not unheard of. But
So
anyway,
the thing with
yeah.
Cody is,
I think Gunther's going to drop the title to Jey Uso, by the way, on that.
uh, you know what? I don't think Gunther should drop it.
If he dropped it to Jey Uso, I wouldn't be upset.
I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't not with Jey. I think Jey Uso, LA Knight, those people deserve it.
You
But
know
if he
what?
drops it stupidly, yep. Sorry.
What I would do is Gunther should hold that title until he wins the world title, right? And then when he wins the world title, he should just be like, well, no one could beat me for this secondary title. I've now got both titles. Why do I want this piece of junk? And he should just relinquish it and be like, you guys can fight over my scraps. Because then you've initially,
Basically, he picks up the world title, picks up the world title, and just throws the other one on the floor and walks
yeah,
off.
just bigs up the world title. Because let's be fair, this world title needs some sort of prestige. You know, he's called the Intercontinental title the secondary title because it's meant to be. And in my opinion, at the moment,
Yeah.
it's probably more prestigious than the world title. And I think that's just a great way of making Gunther an actual badass. It makes the Intercontinental seem like the secondary. It boosts the world title, and Gunther doesn't have to lose.
No, I think you've got a point. I think you've got a point there. Yeah.
But yeah, this
Gunther. The problem with Gunther, WWE hasn't got the best record of pulling the trigger with internationals,
no,
the Europeans.
no. I mean, same with
Um,
Mexico stars.
yeah, you've got the odd liars like Eddie. Eddie Guerrero won it. I'm going to say something really controversial now, but I don't think Ray wouldn't have won it if Eddie Guerrero hadn't been in that whole situation. I don't think Ray would have won it.
No, I do think there's probably a layer of truth to that because I don't think someone like Vince would have just taken a random chance on Ray. Then that's not to say he doesn't deserve it because Ray is probably,
Yeah, it's nothing against Rey Mysterio.
when it comes to wrestling, he is probably one of the
It
biggest
got a bit
wrestling stars.
stupid though, didn't it? He was beating people like Mark Henry and the Great Khali. It was just got a bit stupid. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more
uh,
of a
yeah.
booking on their part thing.
I can't name off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's never been a British WWE champion.
What
I
one did
can't name I can't name a European one off the top of my head.
what title did Drew win? Was it the Universal?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah, God, Drew.
Because you got
Um,
Drew and Balor. I mean,
Drew.
Balor's Irish, so
Didn't they call him British once by mistake?
I can't remember. Probably.
Yeah, apart from Drew, it's not. I mean, considering the UK is WWE's second biggest market, we've had one world champion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's my point. But yeah, God, back to The Rock versus Roman and Cody. They've now put themselves in a hole. Pardon me, because The Rock. I don't think the executives realised the deepness of the feeling over this, and for Sucks chance. Yeah, but I'm reading as we're talking, that it's potentially that they were handing out Rocky Sucks placards to the audience.
Apparently that got
So something's going on here.
apparently that got debunked. Apparently that was a fan that made them and started handing them out in the audience.
It didn't. It's unlike WWE to not shut that down. If you follow me.
Yeah. I think they are trying to play up to this idea of Cody being, oh, he should have been the guy. This should have been his opportunity. I definitely think they are trying to tap into that. I don't think they realize quite how strong it would be.
Is The Rock at this press conference answering questions, Rhys?
Yeah, starts at 7 p.m. our time, so only 3 hours to
Right.
go.
I'm going to be very interested to know. I'm going to be very interested to watch this actually to see how he handles them because they are going to just go straight at it.
Yeah,
Why are you doing this? Fans don't want this. Yes, you feel it's going to make money. It might make money on the night. Where's your long-term booking in this? Because you can't be champion for 6 months. You're not going to be able to be the face of the company. It's not 1998 anymore. I wonder how he takes it.
so it will be streamed actually, so you can watch it on WWE's social and digital channels, which means it's probably going to be on their YouTube channel.
I'm in the YouTube channel, yeah.
So yeah, I'm also going to be watching this because I'm very intrigued to see how brutal it is because it could be a bit of a shit show. Like it could be an
Oh, I'm
absolute
reading
shit show.
something here. Live off Hot the Press, Cultaholic have just done so. Sorry, Wrestle Talk have just released a video an hour ago saying, "Is Cody going to leave WWE?"
Oh, well, that's probably something to keep an eye on. I honestly think this press conference tonight.
Cultaholic are reporting that Cody was told to his face that he would be facing. He would be facing Rhodes. 9 hours ago, Cody Rhodes dominates WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes dominates merch sales, and The Rock scrapes in to 10th.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. Apparently Cody was also
He's got
vocal.
five of the Cody Rhodes has got five of the top selling things on www.shop.com, and his merchandise sales have increased since it was announced that The Rock was filming, and The Rock has made it to the top 10.
Well,
Oh
this
dear.
so Meltzer has said this. When the press conference is over, whatever they're doing, whether it's a three-way, which I was told it's not going to be, whether it's them doing two matches where Roman wrestles twice, or how they make this thing work, I was told it will likely be completed by the end of the press conference. That's the plan. There's going to be some sort of angle when this thing is done. That's most likely going to be the real card, as opposed to a tease and another swerve down the road. So, according to Meltzer, we get a definitive answer at the end of this press conference tonight.
Yeah. If it was all a swerve, it would be probably one of the best swerves they've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with this whole thing is that Cody Rhodes apparently voiced to management that he didn't think the audience would react very well to The Rock coming in and like stealing the spotlight. Um, but it's also been said that he's a company man and he'll go out there and he'll do whatever the company want him to do, which I think is very evident in the fact that he
I
basically,
think, again, I believe The Rock thinks that he knows what the fans want, but he hasn't known what the fans want since 2005.
yeah, yeah. This
So
press
yeah.
conference could be brutal. It's gonna be very, very interesting.
So who have we got in the press conference? Who's have we got? Are we going to have Cody sitting next to Levesque, sitting next to Rock? Because that would be fucking interesting.
Let me see if we can find this. So WWE 40 press conference. Let's see who's gonna be there. So The Rock's definitely gonna be there. It looks like Cody will be there. Triple H, Rhea Ripley. It looks like Cody will be there apparently. It's basically all like
Yeah.
the top people.
Interesting if they all sitting together in a line.
Yeah,
Interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see whether Paul Levesque looks like he's actually in control.
yeah. I have a feeling that people like Roman Reigns and The Rock will not be sat there all night. I have a feeling they will probably come out for their part, right? I think the
Yeah.
reaction The Rock gets when he comes out will be very, very telling. Because if the fans don't really say anything, then frankly, we're probably going to have Roman versus Rock. But this is in Philly and it's a free to attend event. So if the Philly
Yeah.
fans show up,
Free to attend. Yeah.
like if those Philly guys show up and they let their voice be heard, it's going to be a rough night at the office for The Rock.
That's going to be interesting if they've done it on purpose like that. Free to event. Well, if he turns around and says, "Okay, I've heard you. I'm going to step aside and let Cody face Roman," that makes him look really good. That makes him look really good.
Yep. There's
However
also,
much of his fault it is in the first place.
well, there is also tickets you can buy to this event. So we're going a bit off scripted, but this just makes me laugh. If you would like to spend $500 per person, you may have a reserved seat at this press conference. You can go to a cocktail reception afterwards, which will have appearances by Cody Rhodes and Rhea Ripley. So, you know, they're going to show up for 30 seconds, say hi, and leave. You have your own entrance to this thing for some reason, and you get a lanyard. Or
Oh, lovely.
you can spend £2,500 per person to get a front row seat, a photo with Triple H, a signed Cody Rhodes weightlifting belt, go to the cocktail reception, and have a photo with the stage.
I'd probably pay $2.5 to have a photo with Triple H because that to a wrestling fan, that sounds quite good. The £500 one sounds shite, but you know, photo with Triple H, I'll do that.
I love how one of the selling points of it is that you get your own entrance to this thing. Like, Just your own tunnel, like when you come
You
out on
know
the
what?
football pitch.
If me and you went, I'd insist on coming down to the Kai and Tai brothers theme.
I'm sure that'd go over great.
Oh, oh God, mate. Off subject slightly. It says a lot about Val. We haven't heard anything from Val Venus, have we, recently?
I wonder why.
You
Val,
shouldn't
Ve-
laugh, but that whole fucking character says it all.
Val Venus and Rishi Sunak are going to be BFFs soon. That's an English politics joke that no one is
Holy.
going to
Did you say
understand.
Rishi Sunak?
Yeah,
Did you say Rishi Sunak?
he made that trans joke yesterday, didn't
Oh, fuck me. I just saw something actually. So first of all, he refused to apologise, and now he says it was sad and wrong to link the trans jibe. That fucking he's such an idiot.
he? Yep.
Anyone who's not from the we're talking about our prime minister who is worth 800 seems to think that there's no longer a world crisis for cost of living.
Yeah, imagine that. Which is why we're now podcasting
Imagine
again,
that.
because we need to become rich and famous so we can move away.
Money because my subscription to my co-host's other channel has failed because I couldn't afford.
Motherfucker. God.
Anyway, should we finish the episode? Sorry.
Yeah, let's wrap up the Cody Rhodes story.
Right, I can't even remember where we. I fucking feel so sorry for you, Ed. I should pay you to edit these.
It's fine. It won't take too long.
Reese, why aren't we doing more? Well, Liam, because you won't fucking keep on subject and stop
Uh,
talking. I have to spend 2.5 hours editing
no,
every 10-minute show.
my plan is as soon as we wrap up, I'm going to edit the episode, make all the shorts, upload it, and then we're good. That's my new plan.
I'm
I'm
gonna do
going
it
to.
straight away so it actually goes on.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, later. So, yeah, to basically wrap up this episode, Reese, what is your feeling by the time we do our next episode? Do you feel it's going to be The Rock versus Roman, or do you think they're going to pull a swerve on it?
Right now, I think we're getting Rock Roman. I think, depending on how this press conference goes tonight, and if you're available, we could always do like a little mini half an hour pod tomorrow, just talking about how the press conference went and like the results of it. I think if the fans hijack it strong enough, then you might see them pivot in the next few weeks. But I don't think they will pivot on the night, if that makes sense. I don't see them being flexible
So
enough to be like the fan reaction is so bad, we're not doing Rock versus Roman.
I still hold out hope, and I've heard rumors about this about Roman dropping the title at Elimination Chamber and Rock Cody WrestleMania. Still not great, but I would rather that than Rock Roman.
You know what?
Um,
I don't mind Rock Roman at WrestleMania.
if it's not for the title.
If it's not for the title, yeah. Like let Cody and Roman go out at Elimination Chamber if that's what you want to do. And then let Rock and Roman ruin WrestleMania. Whatever. But give us something in return, you know?
No, you're right. Actually, if it's like a bit like the Hogan Rock match,
Yeah.
and Cena Rock won, I think.
Yeah, number
Cena
one.
Rock won, where it wasn't the title, where it wasn't for the title. You could have that as a marquee match. I think the
Yep.
fans would accept that,
Yeah.
not for the title,
Yeah, not for the
not
title.
the expense of Cody.
No, I wholeheartedly
That's
agree.
actually where I hope it goes. That's where I hope it goes.
Yeah. I will take that. Give me Rock Roman, give me Cody versus someone at WrestleMania if that's what you want to do. Give me Seth versus someone at WrestleMania, and I'm happy. Whatever. But don't give me Rock versus Roman for the title and kill like the star that we've all been waiting for. Because Cody is going to be the next Cena
Yeah.
if you give him the chance. But he's much more likable than Cena. Like,
Yeah, and he can wrestle.
yeah, this is the same dude that went out there with his pectoral muscle completely tore off and had a 30-minute Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, this is the same dude who they humiliated and made Stardust, and has still managed to save his career.
Right? Like, give him something
Yeah.
in return here.
Yep. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think they should do a title versus mustache match.
Oh, could
Oh,
you
wait,
imagine?
don't forget that. That's not fun. Yeah. Yeah, but at the end, to all our listeners, I think it's kind of obvious that we don't want to see a 51-year-old roided up Rock versus Roman Reigns because it's not going to be for the title, because it's not going to be a great match.
No.
That that will all be about that match will all be about whether Solo and Jimmy interfere on the Rock's behalf or Roman's behalf.
This is the kind
That
of
will be
match.
that whole match.
This is the kind of match that when you get those WrestleMania guides and those like WrestleMania retrospective books, that the photo of Rock and Reigns in the ring, the huge audience and the lights is going to look amazing. But then as soon as the bell rings, that's when that magic is going to wear off and it's going to possibly be one of the worst WrestleMania main events we ever see.
You know what this makes me? This almost feels along the lines of when you had Brett Yoko Hogan. Do you remember?
And then Hogan came in and stole it at the end.
They've done a little bit more subtly, but it just kind of feels like that.
Yeah,
I'd
it
be
really does.
interested to think what Brett thinks about this because he's very opinionated because he went through this, didn't he,
Yep.
with Hogan? Because Hogan wouldn't lose the belt to him. That's a whole other subject we can cover in another day.
Oh,
Bret
we
Hart
definitely should.
and his struggles because it's very interesting because Hogan refused to fight him. He actually refused to do the job to him for years.
Yep.
Didn't think he was a good wrestler.
Which is
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we need to wrap it up because as you know, we tend to droll on, and my co-host is the editor of this, and he does this for free. So, and he's also now back in the UK, so he can come round my house and punch me if this goes on for too long.
which also means we can actually do watch-alongs or something where we can just get together, watch an event, talk over it,
I
and you guys.
actually was going to talk to you about this.
There you
Um,
go.
because I've got a free house. Because I've got a free house now. Why don't we do pay-per-view watch-alongs at my place?
I'm down. I'm so down for that.
Especially WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Although I was thinking for WrestleMania, if I put a little bit of money aside, I think we should do we should go to a WrestleMania event because they hold them in London.
Oh, okay. Like the box ones are up there. Box part.
Yeah, like they do them in like pubs and all that sort of thing. Yeah, but we
I
should definitely do watch along.
Yeah, I'm down for that to be honest. But I'm also watch-alongs. We should just smash it out.
Yeah, me and my alcohol-free beer, you and your gin.
There we go. Well, if a watch-along is something you guys are interested in, why don't you drop us some comments below on events to watch? We will watch anything as long as we can find it.
You finally get to see my face, guys.
There you go. But yeah, we'll watch anything, whether it's amazing, awful. If you want to tell us to watch a 5 hour Reign of Terror documentary, we will probably not, but we'll say we will. Um, so yeah, leave us some suggestions and we will do our best.
I will not watch Rampage.
Yeah, fair. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was lovely drolling on to you again, and I wish you all the best. And hopefully, after this press conference tonight, we won't all be sad. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.